Angela.
And we are KaleidoWork, where we help teams and leaders to shift their perspective and make work better for everybody.
So what we're talking about today is recognition and appreciation. In particular, what makes it memorable.
Yeah. So what's a memorable recognition experience that you have?
It was very early in my career, and I was working with a marketing agency called Insight. When I reached my 3-year milestone, they gave me a card that was signed by all of the leaders, and they gave me this, which is something I still hold on to today. It's a picture of the world. Now, why did they give this to me? Well, they knew that I was an avid traveler, still am, love seeing the world. I'd done a few trips around the world, visiting different countries, and I wanted to continue doing that. And so they actually chose this as a gift to give to me to acknowledge my 3 years with the organization.
3 years, interesting. Yeah, usually we see a milestone with 5, 10, 20 years, right?
And maybe that's what stood out to me because in general, I know my generation typically stays with organizations for a shorter period of time. And then what stood out to me about it too was that they personalized it so much to me. So that didn't look like any other gift that they had given to any other employee. It was really geared towards me, and it made me realize and notice, I guess, that they actually they knew me, they understood me, and they cared about me as an individual. And when I think back to that memory, I don't remember a whole lot of fanfare around it. I'm a really introverted person, so don't put me in the center of attention, and so I don't remember them, calling a big meeting and putting me up in front of everybody and doing this really publicly. I remember they did it fairly quietly, and that just suited me perfectly.
I love a couple of things around that. One is that it's very much tailored to you. It recognizes who you are. It shows their knowledge and their appreciation of you. And it actually showed that they recognize the type of employees or the type of employees experience that they're trying to create, right? So they're not the type of organization, or it's not the type of role that people stay in for 15, 20 years. So to do the recognition because it felt right at 3 years, that's really interesting too.
Yeah, it stuck with me. So there was something about it that made it memorable, and I think it was all those things. What about you?
There was one, I had been working on this project, and it's kind of a bit of a grind, and it's taken 2 years. And the day that we kind of can put a little bow and finish that project, it was, I can't remember, I think it was July 2020. So we had all gone home and were working from home. And so there was no usual way that we would normally have gotten together to celebrate kind of the end of this project. So it felt very kind of anticlimactic for me. And then I got a text from my boss that day. She's like, check your front door. And so I came and opened my front door, and there was a bottle of champagne with this beautiful card that recognized and acknowledged how big of a milestone it was. She didn't let that moment went by unrecognized. And so I thought that was very thoughtful. And she lived quite far away from me. So it was a bit of a drive, for her to come and I love also the fact that because we were still kind of unsure how we were feeling, so she just left it. There was no obligation of me meeting her or acknowledging, because I think sometimes I find it a bit awkward to kind of be a bit gushy about my appreciation for the gift. So that was actually really nice too, to just just be in receiving mode and not feeling like I have to be in giving mode back, because I've always find that kind of awkward with gift receiving, is that you feel the need to be giving back the appreciation for their thoughts and gesture. And then the other one that came to my mind was a coworker to show up one day with a giant container of pulled pork. And I love food, and I was just commenting on how delicious her lunch looked the other day, and she just show up with some pulled pork for me. It's just very touching. And very practical, which is what I love as well.
Yeah. What stands out to me about those is that in and of themselves, the gestures are relatively small. They're not these huge grand gestures, these massive things that take a whole bunch of budget or what have you. They're simple, but it's almost their simplicity that made them so memorable. And there's almost an element of unexpectedness with them, right? So it's almost like both of them seized an opportunity and used it. Didn't wait necessarily for the perfect conditions. If it was in 2020, those were certainly not perfect conditions for a celebration. But that didn't hold them back from recognizing the milestone, and it didn't wait for some kind of special occasion to do a gesture that would be meaningful for you.
I mean, that's a perfect segue into our first tip for a leader, right? Like is to not wait. Don't wait until the perfect moment. Don't wait until actually even the end of the project. Like I mean, even along the project, I was getting a lot of recognition from my boss.
It's often in the hardest and most challenging times when people need appreciation the most. So fair enough, if a project isn't going well, that's not the time to turn around and say to your team, like, good job, everybody, this is going great. It needs to be honest and it needs to kind of acknowledge the moment that you're in. But if things are challenging or tough, that's actually the most important time to express appreciation for people. Express, gratitude for their perseverance. Acknowledge when they kind of dust themselves off after a mistake and continue learning or growing or trying. That's actually when it can be most powerful.
And what's the second tip?
So the piece that kind of came up for both of us was that it was very individualized, and it's because our bosses got to know us. And so sometimes a mistake that we make is we assume that other people want to be recognized or appreciated in the same way that we do. And so I think that the tip really for leaders is ask your team. Ask your team what they prefer. Get to know them a little bit. Understand what they like. Understand their interests, their goals. Because that information can be used not only to build a relationship, but also to make sure that you're recognizing them in a meaningful and personalized way.
And pay attention, pay attention to, usually in the casual chat, like, so what did you do this weekend? That's usually when people start talking about the things that they do because it's what they enjoy, it's what that's important to them, right? So pay attention to those things. You can gather some of that piece of information. Or sometimes, like, I've had leaders who just do like a really quick survey of any new member that comes on to the team. What's your favorite candy or chocolate bar? What are your favorite activity? How do you like to be recognized? Is it written? Is it verbal? Is it public? Is it in private? Like, just some of these really simple questions that you can ask when somebody first started, right? And I've heard from employee who's like, when they experience that for the first time, they're like, wow, I feel so like, even just being asked is an experience of being appreciated and recognized, right?
The third tip is to really treat this as a leadership skill and prioritize it. A lot of the time we kind of think that recognition and appreciation are nice to have, but they're not super critical. They are. They're actually really, really big drivers for engagement, motivation, a sense of loyalty to the job and a desire to show up. And a sense of belonging and well-being on the team. So, I mean, those are really, really big things that can come from something quite simple as recognition and appreciation. So, as a leader, build it into your practice and view it as an important skill set, along with all of the other things that make a leader strong.
That made me think about my second experience of burnout. It didn't last as long and it wasn't as severe, partly because I was a bit more aware and was starting to do things to prevent it. But I think it was also because of the leader that I had at the time. There was so much more appreciation and recognition that it built more resilience in me to kind of weather a really tough time in a really tough, demanding job and period in my life. So we just got interrupted. Because, one of the best things just happened. My husband just came home with a bunch of flowers as we're sitting here talking about appreciation and recognition.
That's right. He knows that Huong likes flowers.
It's my love
and
language.
Plants. Exactly. How lovely is that?
Anyway,
so
where were we?
Who plays an important role in appreciation and recognition? Well, Everybody does. In the workplace, since that's where we often focus, leaders, you play such an important role in it. In fact, there was a Gallup poll that was done that asked people to think about their most memorable recognition or appreciation that they received at work. And 64% of them indicated it was their leader, their leader's leader, or the CEO or leader of the company.
Wow.
So leaders,
When they do it, it stood out.
Yeah, they have so much, you have so much power and you have so much impact on people's experience at work. And think about it, it's just little things. So that's really our overriding message.
Okay, we hope that was helpful, and follow us for more on the employee experience and employee engagement.